Almost every single game, LNG take advantage of it and pick it up first pick. So that means that they've got themselves a bit of a weird start to the draft, but they've already got this very strong pick in the Thresh. And the Jinx actually coming through for Rogue Warriors is going to be interesting, paired up with that Nautilus. Nautilus against Thresh is going to be a good matchup, I feel like.
I thought for sure it was going to be Tristana Alistar coming in from Rogue Warriors, being like, all right, you get Thresh, we get Tristana and Alistar to be able to deal with it. But it feels almost like the gauntlet has been laid down by Rogue Warriors in that bot lane, being like, you know what? Let's go for it. Let's go Jinx, hyperscale if we need to, but we also do have that power of the Nautilus, the CC king himself, to be able to lock down Light if he ever gets caught out.
Yeah, it's another one that we haven't seen as much recently coming through here, though, Magical, is going to be that Olaf. So here, I was just about to say I would love to see the ADC picked up for LNG. It is going to be the classic Aphelios Thresh lane down there, something that's been super strong here recently in the meta. And it's getting to be this classic combo of getting that jungle, getting the bot lane duo down early in the draft. Although Rogue Warriors change it up a little bit and are going to pick up Zoe. So that's interesting moving forward, because that means you still have a couple strong pieces. You're still looking for Haro's main jungle. You're trying to get something comfortable for him. And you've also got a potential counter pick in the top lane.
Well, it makes me curious what might be the pick coming in for Haro. I would expect a lot of jungle bans to come in from LNG here. So they take away Kindred. I'm expecting Nidalee to also be something that they might opt to take away, purely for the fact that it's something that can try to skirmish with an Olaf early. And if the Nidalee's
really
able to get a good jump
junglers
early. Huh?
I said that these teams really don't want these high tier junglers in the game at all.
No.
We're getting a ton of. I know Kindred not necessarily the highest tier right now in the meta, but I still feel like Kindred can have some serious strength in the skirmishing jungler. And against this Olaf, against Tarzan, who does like to kind of get in your face, I think that's really important. Nocturne actually the last ban, so I wonder what we see. It's got to be Haro's pick, right? It's got to be saving that counter pick for Ziv, as you've already got the enemy jungle picked out. It's not going to be, though. So screw my analysis, because Jayce is going to come through as the fourth pick. So they're saving the jungle for last.
Blind Jayce, though. I'm never a fan, really, of Blind Jayce, because I'm expecting Mikuya to play weak side top lane anyways. I'm expecting it to be where, I'm sure you don't necessarily want that because you already have a weak side bot in Aphelios and Thresh, but it's also into Jayce. If you pick something like that Ornn, it's not necessarily going to be that bad.
I'm a little bit worried Rogue Warrior in their composition so far. I still think they have some very strong pieces, right? But you're looking across the board, and you've got now a Galio locked in finally for LNG, the Ornn coming in, the team fight potential right now for LNG. But there it is! We get the Trundle last pick. Is that why they were waiting the whole time, just to give us a little bit of spice in the end? But it's gonna be Trundle v Olaf.
God, when was the last time we saw a Trundle pick? Now that's what I'm wondering. I want to try to see if I can quick stats that, because it has been a hot minute. I'm a fan of Trundle personally, and I know not everyone is. But Trundle is one of those picks that I actually think is really good into something like an Olaf, something like an Ornn, where all you have to do, subjugate, run on top of them, and boom, suddenly you're super tanky and you can absorb all this pressure, since if you look at the composition that LNG have drafted, they are about the disengage, re-engage. They have a good amount of long-range engage as well, but they're going to have to engage at some point too. While on the other side, Rogue Warriors have drafted for both siege and poke. And all they have to do is have that Trundle stand in front of them and go like, what are you going to do to me? Huh? You want to fight? I dare you.
Well, and I really like this, right? I think that it's going to be leaning really heavily into how this jungle matchup is going to dictate the early game for them. I feel like, Tarzan is obviously a very aggressive jungler, typically, especially trying to get something going early for his team, because he has been a big portion of their early game successes. And Haro's trying to change that a little bit. He's trying to go straight up against this Olaf in a matchup that can go either way, but Trundle can come out on top with some of the extra little bit of late game synergies that can happen, especially with the rest of their team composition. But I still am very worried for how these team fights come together. If LNG can get to a point where they're just going for these objectives, they're buying time, they're farming up, they're getting this Aphelios strong, they're using their team pieces together, that's where they're going to succeed. And that means that Rogue Warriors needs to get the ball rolling early.
That they do as we load up onto the Rift. Game number 1 in this series between LNG and Rogue Warriors. LNG trying to secure that final spot in playoffs. Let's see if they can do it.
Was hoping to hear some Jayce,
Same here.
but looks like we
I
might
always
not
like
have
that.
them today. But I want to see how this early game pathing goes. I want to actually look down. It looks like we don't have anything too crazy. We do have a spell book there in the top lane from Makuya, but nothing else too out of the ordinary, especially. And I just want to see. It looks like we're going to get a bit of split starts or potentially same side starts here. Sorry, misspoke. But Haro and Tarzan looking like they want to start towards the top side, which means we get to focus on the bot lane a little bit potentially here, Magical.
I'm wondering if that's what's going to be the idea for Haro, to try to go for an early gank bot side, or if maybe he just wants to skirmish against Tarzan.
I want to see the butt head. I want to see him fight. I want to see the fisticuffs.
See, I do too. I'm with you on that one. I actually prefer that overall. But the thing is, going up against an Olaf actually probably does not want to take this fight against Trundle. Trundle's going to be able to stay relatively healthy. The fact that he can also dish out a lot of early damage means that with the weak side bot lane, you already see the hook landing from kaixuan to be able to push off Lwandy a little bit, since they know that Aphelios Thresh is not going to be the most lane-heavy fighters that we have on this map.
Yeah, I really like the aggression early, especially from the side of Betty and kaixuan. I think you do need to kind of keep this priority in the lane if you can. And the fact that you can try and like get something down there. And the only thing I would be worried about, you know, as we were just mentioning, Tarzan potentially coming down there to say something about it. But it does look like we're just going to get these like heavy clears from either side of the jungle and see what they can get after like 3 or 4 going for these scuttle crabs, things like that.
You already can see in the bot lane that Betty kaixuan getting that early push. They're actually going for an invade, trying to see if they can catch Tarzan on these Raptors. They might be able to do so.
All he wants is the chicky nuggies. Magical, they're not going to let him do it. And honestly, this is great pathing from Haro.
This is what you'd expect. They have the bot lane already shoving in. Mid lane's about even, but slightly favoring Forge. This gives Haro plenty of time since they had placed that early, well, I guess early but late ward onto Red Buff, so he knew where Tarzan was. Tarzan's trying to equate that on the other side of the map, but he can't. Mid lane's pushing in. Bot lane already has a pretty good shove. He's worried that kaixuan might start rotating early with Haro.
It's honestly a really good early game right now from Rogue Warriors. But the thing is, for me, being able to kind of get that early advantage in the priority at least is good. But I don't know if it's necessarily the end-all be-all, right? You do see the first scuttle crab on the top lane being taken. Icon getting really low too, but not going to go down necessarily. Haro making his way straight across the mid lane to try and get to that scuttle crab, but realizing that Tarzan and Lwandy are already there. I wonder if they're going to continue this.
So look at this. You can already see that kaixuan on the flank. He's able to get the pull, but here comes the TP. Lwandy keeping it alive for a while, but you can see the TP was enough to scare him. Flash forward from Icon, double taunt. They've got kaixuan, first blood going over to Icon. They're going to be able to follow that up with the flash from Haro to be able to survive. But they had a great play coming in from LNG to get that kill.
It's one of my favorite things to say, but best laid plans of mice and men there. Rogue Warriors feel like they're set up, feel like they're feeling confident to try and contest a little bit of that scuttle crab take, and LNG commit to that fight, and they will take that first blood. So good stuff from LNG to respond to Rogue Warriors' attempts in the early game.
I almost wonder if Ziv should have TP'd for that play. Probably would have been canceled by Makuya, so maybe not. But it was definitely a risky play where it seemed like they had this great flank. They had cut them off. But the problem is Forge is just not healthy enough to be able to back it up. Yeah.
And kaixuan just kind of going in, being a bit of a target dummy there in the beginning of that fight, just soaking up a lot of that damage. But as this Nautilus, you know, you still don't have that much tankiness after the aftershock falls off, and a lot of range damage coming in from light, being able to lock him down and things like that. So a bit of an unfortunate start for Rogue Warriors, but they can get back up. It's just a little stumble.
It is. It's a bit of a stumble, but they're not out of this by any stretch of the imagination. You can even see that looking mid lane. Despite the fact that Icon was able to get the kill, he's still up against the Zoe. He's going to be able to outrange him and poke him in for quite some time. So you're already getting a bit of these lane leads that are going to keep Rogue Warriors relevant, especially around these upcoming ensuing fights. I doubt we're going to see one around like the Dragon, but we might start seeing the plays topside after the Dragon's taken, more than likely by Haro.
I would be really interested at which team is going to go for this first dragon. I mean, obviously we're seeing both junglers heading down that way, but for me, more so, it's about who's going to get this prio at 8 minutes for that Rift Herald. I really want to see either side, you know, kind of take advantage of that. And I would really like to see LNG do that because I feel like they're a really strong presence together. But after, you know, a little bit of time, we'll see how that kind of goes. I really don't think that the Cloud Dragon here is the most priority, unless, you know, we're trying to get that objective control going. But I don't think either one is either Haro or Tarzan is necessarily going to dive all in for this first dragon, unless, you know, predicaments mean that they can do so freely.
Yeah, there's not really. I really don't think that either team really cares too much about trying to fight around it. You can
more so
see
the
that Tarzan,
blood they want magical.
Exactly. You can see Tarzan hanging around here, since there is going to be this push coming back into them. But LNG, Lwandy was able to play. They got the rope, but they already got the cleanse out of Betty as well. Lwandy making sure that Rogue Warrior have to blow a lot of their summoners.
Oh man, that was so close for Betty having to burn the cleanse already. I love the combination. Teamwork already coming in for LNG. But now is where Haro can maybe respond to it. He did get a bit of vision there in the enemy jungle, not necessarily confident to kind of start this dragon up just yet. But after having seen Tarzan down there, maybe you do feel a little confident to do so.
Well, the thing is for Haro, it's not like you can really impact these lanes too much. You have the pillar, sure. But the only lane that's going to really be able to pack that punch to help you out is going to be the bot lane. But you can see top lane flash used by Ziv to try to escape from Akuya. He's going to be able to get the double knock. He's got a lot of damage. You got to be careful for Ornn early game. He's got good base.
Yeah, luckily Ziv able to get him away. And Rogue Warriors see that everything's going towards the top side for LNG. So they go ahead and take this first dragon. We said there wasn't that big of a priority. But hey, as predicaments mean that he gets it for free, he takes it. So we'll see now. We got about 25 seconds till this other objective spawns magical.
Lennon, I always wanted dragons to have like a theme. Like, not just like, you know, Infernal Mountain. I wanted them to have like a theme like Bilgewater or like Demacia. So like Ocean Dragon, it would look like a sea serpent, you know? The Cloud Dragon would look like something that you'd see from Targon. The Mountain might be like something you'd see from maybe like Demacia, and Infernal would be Noxus. You see what I'm saying? That's always something I kind of wish that had been happening, but unfortunately I don't always get my wishes. It's just how it goes.
I feel like that might be a little too complicated, but I agree. It would be cool. It would be really cool. There's a lot of regions, though. I feel like you'd have, there would be enough to go around. You'd have to have a lot more dragons.
I'm okay with that.
What if we just had 10 different dragons? They just randomly spawn, see what happens. Throw a little bit more RNG into the mix.
Oh, well, yeah, that would be the only problem, is all the RNG. But going back into this game, you can see that LNG are starting to get a bit of a control in the spot lane since kaixuan was trying to rotate around. I'm surprised actually not surprised, because he did die earlier on. He hasn't been able to afford those Moby boots that he might want to try to pick up just to be able to impact these lanes a bit more. Because I mentioned before how Haro, his ganking isn't going to be the most important. He really needs kaixuan to be there with them if they're going to be able to do that. And so if you can get early Moby boots for your support, suddenly you have someone who rotates constantly with this Trundle, and they are going to be able to be the goon squad for Rogue Warriors.
The Goon Squad is the name of the game right now, and still a bit disheartening that we haven't seen any real proactivity from Rogue Warriors besides that early kind of try that they had. And that's something that we talked about going to this, or coming away from this draft at least, that they needed to get that ball rolling, right? You're looking at the team fight potential here of LNG, and you do not want to go up against that 5v5 necessarily if you aren't in a strong position. Yes, you have some scaling factors yourself. Yes, you have some very strong factors yourself. Looking at Ziv maybe in the later parts, or at least in the mid game, as this Jayce to kind of pick up some of that damage, Betty to shore it up in the end. But you've got a strong base on the side of LNG, and you've got to try to find ways to kind of put cracks in the armor.
Yeah, because LNG have that catch and release comp, right? They're all about being able to absorb the pressure, utilizing someone like Makuya or even Tarzan to be able to absorb some of the fight and then push it back. Throw it right back in their faces. They have long range engage and Call of the Forge God, Hero's Entrance as well. They can always catch out people who are unsuspecting and a little less mobile, such as Betty and even Forge.
We do see Tarzan having started up the Rift Herald, but not going to necessarily do it here as Haro walking in to get some of the vision control down. Forge actually has priority in the mid lane. I would be worried though, because LNG has rotated up here and are a little bit more positioned for this. As Icon
Icon might have gone a little too quickly, taking a lot of damage, forced the flash away to be able to survive. Are they going to look for the Rift? They're not even going to try it because Haro had already used the Subjugate just to be able to be a little bit tankier. So Rogue Warriors going to be able to absorb that pressure themselves and be able to now try to see if they can take this Rift Herald.
And it looks like LNG don't want anything to do with it. They are moving here into the choke point. I would be very worried on how this is kind of going to go. And I want to see, I was about to say, the sleepy trouble bubbles are going to be key for Forge. That's double TPs coming in, man.
They're going for this fight. They're trying to see if they can get this. Lwandy's still alive. kaixuan might be the first to die on the other side, but look at what Makuya has been able to do. He's been able to split apart Rogue Warriors and be able to shut them down. Haro nowhere to escape. Nobody dies on LNG.
This feels so bad for Rogue Warriors Magical. They continuously try to set themselves up for advantageous plays. LNG make the decision for them and take the fight, take the win, and take the Rift Herald.
I don't know how Lwandy was able to live through all that either. I thought at least one casualty would happen for LNG, but they were able to absorb all of that, throw it back. Makuya's, his flank there was immaculate.
Man, LNG, it's all, the dominoes are falling in their direction here because that double TP heads up play, you see Lwandy getting focused down by literally everybody on the side of Rogue Warriors. And then after that, it's a lot of the traditional things we've seen from Rogue Warriors. They split up, the communication kind of goes haywire, everybody's on their own, and LNG picked them apart.
They really do. And now they've got a sizable lead with the Rift Herald as well. I'm wondering where they're going to try to see if they can place it, since bot lane we're expecting to shove in all the time, even though they were able to get a kill and a lot of gold in the Light's pockets after that play. I'm wondering if they're just going to try to see if they can opt to be able to crack open that tier 1 mid, control Haro a bit more, since that has been their one issue, is that this Trundle does outpace Olaf a bit. We don't see Trundle too often, but there are relatively few champions that can outclear something like an Udi or something like an Olaf. Trundle is one of them. And bot lane, you can see how much Trundle can help. He can't help at all when an Olaf games.
They got the second try there with the Dark Passage for Tarzan, going to get that kill. Also, more than likely going to pop the Rift Herald down here and try to get some gold on the Light. At least I was thinking they would, maybe. Because you do have the Dragon up now, it could transition into that as well. Rogue Warriors are looking to respond mid lane, but Makuya's already roamed down here, ready for Haro's gank. They're ganking Forge. Forge gets out with the flash.
But look at Haro. He's still quite a lot down in that level difference between them. He has to be careful, even with Subjugate. He's not as strong as he'd want to be. Finally, there it is. The Rift Herald being popped in the bot lane to give Light all of that plate gold to be able to now finish off the turret too. That is going to put Light in a great position.
My goodness. You know, Light is starting to feel real good on this Aphelios. He's going to be being able to back with a huge pocket of gold. They've even be able to maybe push this Rift Herald to a second charge, get some damage on that second tier tower. And this whole time, Tarzan just starting up that dragon as an Olaf can, as an Olaf does. And that's just going to be another objective for LNG and more map control, more pressure on the map for them.
Well, there's not really much that Haro can do on this side of the map. He has to pretty much forfeit. They have no tier 1 bot, and like you said, getting a second charge on the tier 2. It means that unless he's really willing to fully commit to try to make a play happen, it's not really going to go so well. We talked about that if Rogue Warriors fall behind, or if they stay relatively even, this is a composition that does struggle. They need to be able to get these early leads if they want to be able to maintain against LNG, while LNG are all about the catch and release. They absorb all the fight back and throw it into the face of RW, where they really have been struggling to maintain that kind of pressure.
And that's where I really, and I hate to put up more pressure on it, but I need to see Haro getting involved. I need to see some proactive plays from Rogue Warriors.
Man, what do you want him to do?
I know there's not much, right? But I want to see some of that team play come through, because you're getting to that 15-minute mark. You've really gotten nothing, and when you're going to these team fights, like we've said, you're going up against the Aphelios, who has a ton of gold now after getting almost 2 full towers.
He's gonna get
and like, you just can't do anything in those fights. The health bars, the damage, the difference is going to be too much.
All right, so hear me out. This is an old play from me and my friend's book, right? Me and my friend Opal, we would play with our friend Sin, and we had a Trundle game where I think it was Opal playing Trundle, and so we decided to proxy farm the bot lane so that our ADC couldn't get any farm. We won that game. Maybe that's the play. I don't know. I'm just trying to theory craft here, because right now Tarzan, he's just diving Ziv. Between 2 turrets, you're a level down. He didn't even care.
I mean, they have a gold lead here. They have the advantage. They have the mental advantage too here. Light almost gets the tier 2 tower there. That was.
He's gonna get another one once the minions are here. Look at this.
They're sending the cavalry up there. All right, they're trying to defend.
They're trying to, but right now they're about to lose their jungler in their own jungle. They're trying to see if they can even bring Light just to be able to pad his KDA a bit more.
Poor Haro. Just trying to get something. Tarzan almost gets caught out by Forge there. Just takes a lot of damage from the paddle star, but man, Haro just trying to get something, trying to fight over the chicken nuggets. Doesn't get him, and then here we go.
They got Forge to go gold, and he's going to be able to survive. It's going to be the hook on Icon, but Icon's actually pretty tanky at this moment. He goes golden himself to be able to survive, and he's going to be able to use the Justice Punch just to get out of there. That was a lot used on both sides, but all in all, it's always going to favor LNG unless Rogue Warriors can stop this gravy train.
I love the idea there of Rogue Warriors, you know, trying to get kaixuan to get the re-engage, try to get somebody caught out under tower, use at least a little bit of your surroundings to help you in the fights, because, you know, just going up against a straight 5v5 right now is not going to work out in your favor. It doesn't work out, though. You know, Icon has the stopwatch, is able to go gold and buy a lot of time. Still that tanky member right now on this Galio, who's honestly doing a ton of damage as well, and so that's where the things start to really add up, for LNG, where you're getting multiple threats across the board for them. You having to realign your focus for Rogue Warriors on multiple different pieces. Who are you going to catch out? Who are you going to focus on? And the target calling in this is going to be so key, and it's something that we've seen Rogue Warriors lack on.
And as they continue to lack here, 5,000 gold behind. So they do want to make this play on Mikuya. No longer having to call the Forge God. He's underneath the turret. Has flash if he needs to. Finally going to be able to flash away, but it's going to be the pillar to be able to stop him from getting away and getting their first kill for Rogue Warriors.
Woo! We got a kill. Rogue Warriors on the board.
You're more excited than I am, because I know what that means. It just means
I'm
that
so
Light gets
excited.
the turret mid. It just means Light gets the turret mid, man.
You know what? It's about seeing the silver lining.
Look what he's doing. He's just hanging out back there like, what can I do? My whole team's bot. We're going to lose the tier 1.
He's literally just going to take another tower. Oh, my God. All right.
I told you. It's like, yeah, you killed
things go well for Rogue Warriors in a moment. They get a kill, but yeah, they lose their 3rd outer tower, which means that, you know, from this point on, LNG, they've had a lot of the onus around the map. They even have more here. You see Light's just taking jungle camps now. And the only thing here now, right, is that LNG can find themselves overextended. They can find themselves a little bit over the edge, and that's where Rogue Warriors can capitalize if they can find the right moment.
Oh, Lwandy wants to flash hook onto Betty so bad. I can see it. As a support player myself, I know that feeling. You want to be able to go for the flashy play where you flash, you immediately pull, but Betty has both some, so it was a good call not to go for that, because all he would do is pop one or the other if the hook lands, cleanse if it does, flash if he sees it coming. So it was a smart call, because right now, LNG don't need to really risk anything. They have full control. They're going to be able to get the second Rift Herald of the game as well. You can see how they're just slowly choking the life out of Rogue Warriors. Sure, you know, they got their first kill of the game, bravo. But what'd you get off the back of that? You lost a turret mid. It's not really a position you want to be in when you're the ones who are able to make a proactive play, yet you still lost out on the map.
And the thing is now for LNG, you know, they just snowball those objectives into more objectives, into more objectives. They're just racking up those cards here, getting that Rift Herald, a late Rift Herald to speak, and having that be able to be used on one of these tier 2 towers, have a little bit more advantage there. They put themselves on 2 dragons now. Yes, they're going to lose top lane tower, but in all actuality, like, that doesn't really matter.
Like Lennon.
They've got so much presence.
Hear me out. Now imagine if Rift Herald also was 2 different types. You had like the Void one, and you had the Acathian one. You see where I'm going with this?
I see the direction, Magical. I see it. It's a little foggy.
Are you following me down the direction is the next question.
You know, I might need to get some, like a lantern or like something to come along with me, because it's looking a little dark and spooky down there.
Yeah, that's usually the dark recesses of my mind anyways. Because right now, LNG, they're trying to push into Rogue Warriors jungle, getting good control. I mean, that tier 2 still stands that we saw Light nearly take down before, and they didn't even have to take it. They were like, okay, cool, we can just back off of this one. We get control of your jungle. You have nothing you can really say about this. we're just going to be able to take these resources, and once you not even overstep, you understep, you fall back a bit too far, they might get the Baron, they might get the turret, they might get their 3rd dragon of the game. There's so many options for LNG to get that they don't have to force anything at this moment.
Yeah, you see, they're gonna be forcing a little bit in the mid lane, trying to get this Rift Herald on this tier 2.
Not really.
Yeah, I mean, you have as much as you want here, and I like the response from Rogue Warriors trying to.
Yeah, they're trying to be able to get the turret there, just trying to get themselves a little bit more, as Lennon was saying. But right now, it does seem that LNG kind of waiting out. It's 4v4 in this mid lane. They had to send a Forge from Rogue Warriors up towards the top side just to be able to stop that push coming in from Icon, but the fact that they no longer have the 5-4s here, if they lose that tier 2 mid with no fight coming in from LNG. I hear you, so I believe you are as well. Your internet followed me down the dark, lonely path. That's what happened. So, right now we do have it where Icon, he's just going for this. He doesn't care. Wanted to be able to get the taunt. He's locked up a little bit too long by kaixuan, but here comes a call for God. Looking to see if he can get the double knock. I'm going to be able to, but it's going to be the follow-up. Moonlight killed off kaixuan from a distance. Nicely done coming in from Light. They should be able to take this tier 2 tower as well. But they're going to keep Rogue Warriors pushed off. They're going to be able to have them at least fought back a little bit. So now that we have Lennon back, I'll let him take the reins here.
Icon staying true to what we were talking about, taking all the pressure you could possibly have that Rogue Warriors are throwing at him, surviving, turning the fight around, getting a kill over for LNG. I just think it's so nice to see the things coming to fruition that we set out, right, Magical? It feels good to have a little bit of that aspect to it. But for LNG, this is an excellent start to the series. 8-1, right? You've got a big gold lead. You've got all the pressure around the map that you could want. And this is how it started, with him taking a 1v3, getting almost everything used against him, but it doesn't matter because the cavalry's there.
And I like this. Mugu was able to get the double knockup into the Moonlight Sigil, and since it was Infernum, Pop just blows them up. And I honestly thought that it might have been able to get Haro too, because you can see from the build path, I don't think that Lord Dominus Regard was built before the fight, but now that he has 3 items, that is 2, well, an item and a half over Betty right now onto this Aphelios. You want this Jinx as late game insurance. That late game ain't coming until about 45 minutes.
That's what you're banking on, at least. I do really like to, at least I want to point out, is Ziv and Forge have developed a decent lead for themselves. I mean, it doesn't really matter. It pales in comparison to the lead with the kills that have been secured with almost every single person besides Lwandy getting 2 kills for themselves on the board for LNG. And like, you can develop these CS leads all you want, but you've also got to find other leads. You've got to find objectives. You got to find kills, and that's just not what has come about for Rogue Warriors in this one. And so at this point, it's like trying to put duct tape over leaky holes in a submarine. You're trying to find places that you can kind of hold it down for a little bit longer.
Don't smack top my duct tape. Duct tape works for everything. It's like WD-40. It worked on everything, baby.
Well, hey, maybe duct tape will save Rogue Warriors. We'll see.
No. See, the problem is they got the knockoff brand. They didn't get real duct tape. They got like the clear see-through like regular tape that actually doesn't do anything. And so that's the real problem. No, it's not even Scotch tape. They got the knockoff brand of that.
Okay, I feel like that's going into an even deeper rabbit hole there, trying to find out what tape is where. But I really want to kind of go back into this because we have objectives on the board here, Magical. I want to see how Rogue Warriors approach these because LNG are completely set up. You can easily focus out this dragon, get your soul point for yourself. Tarzan can easily solo that one if he wants to. But now with the Baron on the table, you have a little bit different gameplay options here for LNG. And if Rogue Warriors just let another objective go down, if they just let this Baron go down without a fight, I feel like that's where, you know, this gold lead is going to mean that much more.
But Lennon, this is the problem. What fights does Rogue Warriors have? We talked about what their competition is built around. They don't really have anything unless they can get that YOLO steal coming in from Betty. We've seen a couple rockets steal Baron so far. Yeah. Maybe that's the fallback plan. It's plan Z. You got nothing left. Just YOLO the rocket.
Just hope you get it on the right timing, hitting the right character, and getting the exact splash damage needed. But here we are.
Taking no damage. no damage so far.
Literally nothing. Oh no!
Look at the TPs
he
coming in.
can't take
Finally,
it.
he's taking damage. Now he's gonna get the double knockup with the play as well onto kaixuan. Here comes the jump back in from Ziv, but Makuya's still alive. kaixuan's the first to die, and double knockup coming in on the other side with Haro being chased down by Icon. Undertow gonna be able to connect. They're gonna be able to get that kill easily, gifted over to Tarzan, while Ziv on the other side trying to be able to get away. Lwandy is the one scaring away the top laner, saying, "Fight me, I dare ya! I got the damage, I swear." Light takes him down.
Even the strong point with Ziv there can't get a kill back.
No!
They do get
they
the
used
one.
the contingency plan! The rocket's already been used by Betty!
I
No!
know. There's no chance, Magical. There's no chance. I do like that Rogue Warrior's able to get the kill on Makuya, but in all, I mean, it's just a lot of pressure absorption up there. They did not have the right target acquisition, and Icon able to come in. Big damage from Light, Tarzan as well.
Yeah, well, for Rogue Warriors, there was the kill for Betty, finding the snipe on a Makuya. Forge is able to also be able to get that their second turret of the game in the bot lane. But it's, as you mentioned before, silver linings. That's all it really is at this
point. I feel so bad for Haro. Like,
look at this, though. Look at how much
damage
damage
so
Makuya
hard.
takes.
They get, look how
so
much.
far,
and
but
I
in
love
the
it.
end,
The pillar.
it doesn't even matter.
The pillar to stop the dark passage as well means that Makuya just stays in the fight. So like you're getting everybody joining the fight from LNG, and unfortunately again, just like we've seen so many times before, Rogue Warriors just separate and split up. That's the nice little mega death rocket coming out from Betty, but it's everybody turning tails and running for the hills where they just get caught out.
I just find it funny that Zip's running away from Lwandy. I'm sure Light is not too far behind either. But you just see Lwandy like, fight me. Fight me!
I've got a death sentence with your name on it.
Oh, now we're getting edgy. But as we have Light pushing up the Baroned up minions mid lane, Rogue Warriors, their composition was built to do this themselves, not have it done to them. They're not going to be in the most confident position to be able to fight back. You can see already having 2 lane shove in. Light just hanging around 2 cannon minions. This turret is soon to fall unless they immediately can get Betty there. Nope, not going to be in time. Instead, Light, though, got to be a bit careful. Yeah. Jumped on top of him, just punched, just blocked by that pillar, so it's nice done by the side of Haro. But unfortunately, it's just these silver linings for Rogue Warriors. They lost another turret mid. It's the rinse and repeat coming in from LNG. They're just looking to see if they can start closing this game out soon.
And I gotta call the question, Ziv was still bot lane this entire time. You got the TP in for Makuya to join the fight. They've now taken 2 in-hit towers. They're looking at the base, and you were still backing for Ziv.
Knock up. They're just going to go for the end. They don't even need to get the kills. They've got 1 extra turret. They got the pull coming in onto Haro. They're going to be able to blow him up on the other side for Light. There goes the final Nexus turret. A lot of damage inside the fountain. Ooh. Ziv is gone. Rogue Warriors are dead meat here. We've got game 1 for LNG.
LNG come out swinging. Magical. I love it. They did not give Rogue Warriors a single inch. Yes, they gave them 2 kills, but it didn't matter. Every time in the fights, it was an absolute win for LNG. The objective control, the map movements, it is looking really good for LNG to secure that playoff spot.
It's a very clean game coming in from them. This is what we want to see with teams going into playoffs, is against some of these teams that have already been knocked out, how clean can you play? How well do you look in controlling the pace of the map? And LNG controlled every aspect. Sure, Haro was able to do some stuff early on into the game, but after that one fight, pretty much right at the Scuttle Crab in the bot lane, that was the first blood onto kaixuan, it felt like Haro didn't have a backup plan. There's no fallback plan to be able to say, okay, we could do this instead, because they were the ones who needed to be able to get the snowball if they wanted to be able to siege. Yeah. Well, the other side, I'll say it again, catch and release style. All they had to do was absorb and push back.
It happened so many times. Every time Rogue Warriors were trying to get something, it was just absorption and throwing it right back at them, like you were saying. But for me, it's like the Trundle pick is a good idea. Unfortunately, the execution didn't really work out for you. I wanted to see that proactivity come out from Rogue Warriors, but it just never was there. I feel like they were playing that kind of waiting game to see what LNG wanted to do, what LNG wanted to approach with, and by the time they realized it, it was too late.
You can see from the damage graphs here, like Ziv was able to get a lot of damage, but you know, it's as Munch likes to say, because he was hitting a brick wall the entire time. He's hitting Makuya the entire time, so of course his damage is going to look off the charts. But everyone else, it's exactly what we'd expect. Betty just didn't really have the game where he could pop off on Jinx to get to that late game, while Light was gifted so much early gold. How many times was he able to have alone time with any of these turrets? What was it, like 4 turrets, I think, taken just by Light?
It was up there for sure. He almost got that tier 2 in the top lane, getting every single outer tower for himself, and it feels really bad when you have this composition for Rogue Warriors that wants to get that early game going, has that scaling potential in the Jinx on Betty, but they aren't able to get that going, and you have every piece for LNG firing on all cylinders. I think we talked about it before in the lead up to the game, but Icon was huge on this Galio. He was able to get with the team, able to use that synergy that Galio has with the semi-global map pressure, but as well as being able to handle that mid lane, being able to take all the pressure. That was where Rogue Warriors wanted to fight. They wanted to take Icon down, and they couldn't every single time.
I mean, that's the thing with Galio into a composition that just didn't have that damage they needed to early on. It's like Zoe can burst people, but Galio is always that deceptively tanky kind of champion where it looks like he's super tanky, you know, you're like, oh man, his health bar is so huge, and then you realize he has nothing but AP. But you know, that's aside for another day. We got to toss it over to a break to get ready for game 2 between LNG and Rogue Warriors. LNG one more away from being able to secure playoffs. Let's see if they